what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the B3 Podcast. I'm your host, Brett. I got Matt GPT and Tanner the Head. We have our show partners, Elite Nutrition. Check them out at elitenutritionomaha.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off. Go to the store in Omaha or Lincoln.
Get a
B3.
You paused. Like, you had a weird pause. I'm like, did I miss something?
B3 to get a free shaker.
There you go.
We also have Rosewood Block. They make the best cutting boards and barbecue, fully customizable. Check them out at rosewoodblock.com. Use code B3 at checkout for 10% off there as well. We also have the real Midwest Mecca of strength and everything great, Omaha Barbell. Come here for a great experience and life lessons.
And I would like for you, if you drop in, to do the pendulum squat.
Yes. And we...
And if you don't put 2 plates on each side, you're just a big wiener.
No, that's like soul crushing.
That's so terrible. Help, I'm stuck.
But we did just get a fresh shipment of Obsidian ammonias in. So if you need some ammonia, we got it. And also, Elite Nutrition will have some as well.
Yep. Nose candy.
Yes, the regular one.
We nose bleach.
We have both.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have the regular, we have nose candy, and we have nose bleach. The nose bleach is real aggressive. Yeah.
I don't have that one.
No.
That's for special people.
The nose bleach is here at the gym. But, yeah, we've talked about all kinds of stuff before this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we talked about, like, might have found Noah's Ark again, but which I think they should dig it up.
We talked about how Barack Obama is still a leader in deportations and no one gives a fuck.
Okay, I think we should talk about it, because here's my thing. Vacuum plants get raided all the time. I don't know why people act like this is some kind of fucking new thing that's happening. They raided the vacuum plants here in Omaha like 8 or 10 years ago. They fucking brought in helicopters. Dudes were rappelling in. I used to have a client who owned a fucking place up in like Dakota Dunes. Their plant got raided. This is not like something fucking new that someone's doing.
What's new, Brett? The person doing it.
Exactly.
That's what they care about. They don't care about the deportations. This is all a giant chaos. They just have chaos. That's what they want.
Yes.
And whoever they is, if you want to say the Illuminati, if you want to say the Democrats, if you want to say the people in power, I don't care. They want chaos.
Did you see that thing about California funneling money in to pay these rioters?
Yes.
They're
Soros
using government aid to do
They
this?
drop off fucking center blocks and shit in places so they can grab them. Like, this is not, like, if you think that this is organic, if you think this is not made up, like, you're delusional.
Well, and shout out to Andy Frisella. He predicted this in January of 24, that there was going to be a people versus migrants riots were going to happen.
And let's just be honest, as just normal, like, conservative men, I don't care about, I have nothing wrong with immigrants. Nothing at all.
I don't care. And I've said before, I will trade plenty of shitbag people for hardworking Hispanics any day of the week. But also, on the other side, your answer can't be, well, if we deport them, who's going to mow our lawns and wash dishes? Mexicans do other things. I don't know if people understand this. They do other things.
Well, and so your like holy stance that you're standing on is that we're going to have to pay more for strawberries. Like, you're okay with people being exploited for cheaper labor? Like, that's what that's the platform.
Well, this is like LeBron James talking bad about China or talking about slave labor, but Nike's his sponsor.
Or Apple. They put a fucking nets outside the plants so when people jumped off, they didn't die and they could put them back to work.
All right, Kim, back to fucking work. Let's go.
Catch him on level 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the level of hypocrisy and the level of, I posted something the other day and it was like this clip of a kid yelling like, "Mama, mama," like it was like someone being deported, right? And the guy's like, "Oh, this sounds familiar. It's from a fucking movie." And these people on TikTok and Instagram are playing this like it's from a movie. He shows the clip from the movie.
Well,
like, this is just a propaganda thing that pisses me off. Barack Obama had 3 million formal deportations in his term. Trump had 1.2 in his 4 years. So even if you double that, he's still over half. He's 600,000 less than Barack Obama. Now, in all fairness, to the Hispanic population, to the Mexican American population, Barack Obama was deporter in chief. right? Like they called him that, but white liberals just somehow didn't know what was going on, but they do now because Trump's in office. Just like the person who's dropped the most bombs out of any president is Barack Obama. But however, like of course Democrats aren't war hawks. Yes, they are. Like stop. Like all I want is factual information. I'm tired of like who did it is the thing, not what was done.
Yeah, I mean ICE was created for a reason. They aren't just like supposed to be like a friendly department out there. Like they go in and make sure people, if they're here, I mean, their immigration, you know what I mean? If you're here illegally, that's what they're here for. The first word is illegal immigrant. I know they changed the name to whatever they want to change it to.
It's illegal.
No, I know, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying. And I got sucked into I don't ever comment, but I got sucked into Omaha Scanner and they're talking about it. And of course someone's like, hey man, I voted for this. And they're like, oh, glad to see a racist could join the group. Just because you don't think people should be here, like stealing identities. I had my identity stolen and I had to go through all kinds of shit. I called the IRS. I had to do all these things because I tried to file my taxes and somebody stole my fucking identity. So I had to go through it's like 4 hours of work on the phone to make sure that no one's trying to fucking.
That was just your hold time with the IRS.
Yeah. No one's trying to steal your life. Again, I don't care for the most part. Right. But a lot of these people, there are a lot of criminals. There's a lot of criminals here too. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, so somebody made a point and they go, well, they're taking them from their kids. If you come here and you have a kid on purpose to stay here, that's not like, that shouldn't be your life plan. But somebody goes, oh, so if I rob a bank and kill somebody in the process, but I have kids at home, I shouldn't go to jail?
I was just going to say, thousands of children are separated from their parents every day, American citizens, because their parents made bad decisions and have to go to jail.
Well, how many kids did Biden let get trafficked?
Yeah.
Way more than that are getting separated from their parents right now.
So this is the thing that pisses me off the most is Democrats want to bitch about it. You had the House, the Senate, and the presidency from 2020 to 2022. If you wanted to fix it, you could have, right? But you didn't want to fix it. Like, that's the thing. The Democrats bitch about things and they don't fix them. They just want the chaos. They want the identity politics. They want you to identify, like, they want to bring you in based on some terrible thing. They could have fixed it. They didn't. So don't be pissed if you don't change the laws and then the next president comes in and enforces the laws. Don't be pissed about it. You had the chance to fix the laws and you didn't do it.
Well,
and then you just open the border up and allow over 10, depending on numbers, in the low end, 10 million to 20 million undocumented, unvetted people with 450 to 600,000 criminal aliens, depending on what numbers, and 400 to 600 people on the terrorist watch list enter this country because of Biden's policies. So yes, Trump has to go do things. And here's the thing, like, I'm not a Trump fanboy. Like, I don't, like, there are things he does that pisses me off. This $5 trillion adding to the debt. Fuck that. No, that's not what I voted for. Okay. So like, but like, you can't just deem something either right or wrong by who does it and not the action. And that's where we're at. Like, it's who does it. And that's on both sides. Is who does it is more important than what it is, and that's bullshit. What it is matters. I don't care who does it.
Well, and I don't think Gavin Newsom gives a fuck about his state. You let that state burn because you had to move the water supply somewhere else. So there was no water to put these fires out. You don't do any forest cleanup, so you let your city burn, which then he messes up. The fires burned down his largest tax bracket, that Pacific Palisades or whatever that was. Then these riots are letting it burn again. And then they say, well, there's no riots. Well, then why did you institute a curfew if there's no riots? And then you're saying that Trump can't call the military in.
Yeah.
And yeah, and constitutionally, if the president feels as though the state is not doing what needs to be done, they can take care of it. And like all these marches, like, what are you proving?
But this is all.
And I think every time they march, they're actually losing. The Democratic Party is so fucked up right now. They don't know what direction they're going. I think they're actually losing support with this stuff.
Well, they are. So some interesting polls. CNN reported,
especially in the Black and Hispanic community.
Yep. So CNN reported this. In like 2020 or 2022, Democrats held a plus 32 point advantage with legal immigrants on which party handles immigration policy better.
On legal or illegal?
Legal immigrants. Legal immigrants on which party handles.
Because most of the legal ones don't like that these people came illegally.
So Democrats held a plus 32 point advantage Today, Republicans hold a plus 8-point advantage. That's a 40-point swing in either 2 to 4 years. I can't remember when the first poll was. It's a 40-point swing.
Well, and when Trump got elected, look at how many Hispanics and black community voters he got.
Right.
Because they're like, dude, we're tired of the country being overran. And if you're at any person that's on the system, welfare, SNAP, whatever, I mean, guess who's hogging into your system? They were giving all these immigrants, these undocumented immigrants, just all kinds of money.
Right.
I mean, what do you think is going to make your system go broke? A system that allows people, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a good amount of people in this country that rely on some kind of aid.
Yep.
And who's getting it for doing nothing? They're not even citizens.
Well, so the job market, 5% of the U.S. job market is now illegal immigrant workers. 5%. Okay. Job participation by American citizens has gone down several percent over the last 4 to 10 years. So we have less people trying to work that are American citizens, and we have more illegal immigrants. Now, so the illegal immigrants, whether they have to have a number, Social Security number, worker ID number, whatever it's called, to pay taxes. Well, if they don't, then they're taking someone else's through Social Security fraud or through whatever, or they're working off book, right? All these things hurt our poorest people in this country. Like, they need to be able to get jobs. We also need, just my personal opinion, Americans need to get off their freaking ass. We have too many people on programs that are able-bodied.
Hey, that's right. I said I'll trade any shitbag fucking lazy Americans for any Hispanic that wants to work.
I think most countries would trade their shitbags for good people.
You know how Mexico or how these criminals got sent here from, what is it, Venezuela and all that? Yeah. Let's do it the other way. Let's just take all of our prisoners. We'll send them to fucking Venezuela and we'll pick up some fucking Mexicans on the way back. You know what I mean? It's like when that dude pulls up to Home Depot and fucking all the Mexicans jump in the back to go fucking work at his house. Hey, man. They're hard workers, dude. I don't have anything against them. But I'm also not going to be like, who's going to pick our strawberries? Who's going to do this?
Who can we exploit for cheap labor?
That's, I think, a really strong undervalued point. Like, people are concerned about what's going to happen to the price of things. Well, the only reason that the price is low is because people are being exploited, right? That's why you get Nike shoes for so cheap and some of that stuff. But like your strawberries and your berries are
which, you know, it's funny. Like they have some kind of moral compass. But if we could have a Nike fucking slave labor sweatshop here, and it would make everybody's shoes even cheaper because you wouldn't have to pay any tariffs or anything. Dude, these fucking same people that are saying this shit would be like, I mean, it's probably not like a bad idea. You know what I mean? These same people who are talking about citizens.
Like, as long as it doesn't happen in your backyard, it's fine.
That's
well,
how, yeah,
turn the other cheek.
I can't see it. Yeah. So
because I mean, they'll spin a lot. So if to divert to China just a little bit, like a lot of the Chinese workforce was like low skill like slave labor, but because they have become so good at production and manufacturing, like it's now like medium skilled. Like don't get me wrong, they still exploit people and they still have a ton of people who are just being used, you know, like everyone talks about the suicide nets and stuff. So they definitely still have that. But a significant chunk of that, because they put in the work to grind and go through the process of doing all these really low skill jobs, whether they wanted to or not, for long enough time, now they're like moderately skilled.
Do you know what that model's right after? South Korea. South Korea were low skilled jobs and now they're not.
Yeah.
Like over the set, like in the last 70 years, they become a very high skilled, no more low paying jobs, right? Like, I mean, I shouldn't say no more, but like way better paying jobs. My problem with all of like China and everything else, we could have done the same thing in South America. We could have been on our hemisphere, like putting factories in South America and they would make less money, right? But then over time, it grows into them being more skilled workers.
Right. But I mean, it started, this is my assumption, is that it started because you could get the cheapest labor from China.
Yes.
Like they had the most amount of people, and when you have a communist government.
And they offered it up.
You can do a lot. Yeah, right. They have, I heard someone refer to it as stoplight capitalism in China, right? Where they are communist, but whenever they need to, like they have a lot of innovation that comes out of China. So they can turn the dial to capitalism when it benefits them. But as soon as it starts to get out of control or like the government feels like they might be losing control, they're like, no. They turn that dial back. Yeah. Right. So they have from like a productivity and efficiency model, like it's fucking cool. Like it can do some really awesome things from being a citizen under that, not so cool. But if you looked at it as like a machine, that's pretty fucking effective.
Well, I kind of view like U.S. food production the same way. Like it's like there's too much bullshit in it, but how we can feed and how you can put something on a shelf that can last like months or years.
Right? You're like,
you know, like I
wait
mean,
a
from an
minute.
engineering like
Well,
logistics.
there's some genius people out there.
Yeah. Like I think it gets fucked up, but to your point, like what happens in your backyard, like we're okay. Like the battery car people and the environmental people are completely fine with third world country children digging in
cobalt mines and all that bullshit.
Yeah, they're completely
that's
fine with it. It's fine, but God forbid, we have like the 4th largest like cobalt mine in the world, like I think in Nevada, and we can't touch it because of the environment. But I mean, if your little
It's not our
10-year-old,
environment.
huh?
It's not our environment over
Yeah,
there. So
exactly. It's
Well, even
someone
though it's all the same environment technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like if it's like to your point, if it's not in your backyard, and that's my like just be. I just want people to be like consistent.
Yeah.
Just be consistent. Don't look so much at like we have so much of these things where we just want to be validated, right? Like we get we validate our feelings through the information we want to see.
Well, this
and
is
then we
social
forget
media.
other things.
Social media, when you have people who post selfies every day because they want people to tell them how good they look.
Yeah.
Back on China, like how they treat their people, not great for most of the time.
Yeah.
But did you see? Pretty gangster move China did. I don't know if it was their college finals time or high school, whatever
they
it was.
turned off
They
AI.
shut down AI across the country, like so none of the kids could cheat.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that's a fucking pretty
that's-
boss move. Like I was like,
That's your green light capitalism there.
Yeah.
They can-
but that's great. I think that I don't know how they could do it in schools here, but so kids couldn't do it in school. You know what I mean? That'd be
Right.
great to be able to limit your access to AI.
I think you have to. I would go a different direction and say you need to evolve what your testing mechanism is. Right?
Yes.
Because I mean, at some point, right? I mean, when we were taking, like, you couldn't have a calculator that was too smart, right? So I mean, it's the same thing. They're just like,
Dude,
hey,
I was a
don't have
dork.
that.
I had a calculator watch, bro.
Fuck yeah.
But it beeped every time you hit a button.
Oh, mine had I had a programmable TV remote watch for a while.
Dude, you're way dirtier than me.
Dude, well, I mean, so like when they roll in the cart with the fucking TV on it, you can just fuck around with it. So like if you're gonna watch a 20-minute video, but you've got like an hour-long class, I can just sit back there. I had a little book that had all the different like TV brands and shit, and you could like thumb through it, reprogram it, and do that stuff. So I could just fuck with the TV for an hour, burn up an entire class when it should have only been 20 minutes. Fucking
Nerd.
But anyway, so we had those calculators, and then we've evolved, and so now testing, they generally don't discourage those. They're like, hey, listen, that's part of the world. So they've evolved the test, and so that's I think the route. I know we're in that like transition phase of having like AI in here and trying to figure out what we're doing with it and how we utilize it every day. But like that's the route that we should be looking is, all right, so AI is here, like it's not going away. How do we start to evaluate people using AI, right? So if AI is going to be like I have it on my phone. It sits next to my penis all day long.
Well, and I was just talking to the kid this morning, like there's a guy that comes in here and a girl he works with, I think does like some content creation for him, graphic design. And she was on some tirade one day about how she should get paid more because she does more work than they do. And I was like, you need to slow your roll because AI is going to take your job. So if you're in graphic design and content creation, you need to be the upper like 5% of that because they still need those people. It's like you still need the person to work on the robot. Like I've done some chat GPT stuff with images, and sometimes you have to have Illustrator and be able to use Illustrator and go in there and clean up those images excuse me, and fine tune them. So you need to be that upper because if you're just a regular graphic designer, like see you later, dude. Like I would be trying to get and no matter what you're doing, you should, like we talked about, you should under promise and over deliver. You know, you should always do above and beyond if you're trying to be great at something. So if you're in those content creation, graphic design, any of those things that the person right above you can just go on ChatGPT and be like, I need a picture of this, or can you write this for me? Like a speech write, you know what I mean? You better be the best because
You know who I think is on their way out if they don't figure it out real quick is Google.
Fuck yeah.
Google's gone because they're
what helps Google though is they have so many data warehouses.
yeah, but
that so many people reference. Facebook does that too, though.
But like Google as a search engine, because understand Google makes money on ads based off searches. That's what their business model turned into, right? Well, now I don't need them.
No, but I think they probably make back end money on their data warehouses.
They can make some money on it, but I mean, to your point,
their money's made on advertising.
Unless I'm looking for a very specific website, like I use ChatGPT for almost.
I use Grok because the thing is that I will go to Google, right, to verify something, or I'll go to YouTube to watch the video that ChatGPT or Grok or whoever told you about. Like I may go like verify some information, but why would you comb through all these pages of websites when you can get a summary of the information?
A summary of
all the websites put together in a nice, like easy to read form with links and stats and articles and whatever studies and whatever citation that you need already there. Like, why would I go?
Now, doesn't Google own YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, there's still branches, but I think as far as
you're talking about just the Google search engine itself.
Like the thing that they have is
like Google as a company and a stock. You know what I mean? Like I think
but
they have
still take a hit.
But like, figure out how much money Google makes on advertising.
You know who took a hit? Boeing when that fucking plane crashed. Their stock fucking dropped.
Yeah. Well,
dude, how do you think that guy was the only drunk guy on the plane? Like he didn't tense up, he just flopped around in there and got off the plane. Like, because how did no one around him survive?
I don't know.
Because the plane like went into flames apparently.
Yeah, I know Google's business model switched over to advertising like probably a decade ago.
Oh, that's right. Alphabet is the actual parent company for Google. So generated $305 billion in revenue, which $237 billion roughly came from advertising.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Well, but now, okay, but does it break down the advertising? Because remember, they own YouTube. So YouTube runs tons of ads.
Yep.
And YouTube's massive.
Ads roughly, YouTube was only 8.9 billion.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Search ads were 50 billion.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So where's the rest of it?
Advertising. Oh, that was just in Q1 of 25.
Oh, okay.
So 200 billion roughly for
annual, so
and 32 billion for ads on YouTube.
Yeah.
So a big chunk of their revenue comes from search engine ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 200 billion.
Yeah, because they pay to get the ranked.
Well, it's called AdWords, right?
Yeah, you pay to get your top sponsored ads and all that.
Yeah.
Shit,
So, but that's what I'm talking about. Like they're smart. I mean, some of the people at Google are the smartest people in the world, right? But hopefully it's not like moving the Titanic that we were talking about earlier, because there's so much there. Yeah. But they're definitely going to have to switch because like I said, I only use Google, like you said, to go something very specific. I don't search on it anymore.
But I think they'll always be around. It's kind of like we talked about the Kleenex thing last time, right? Like no matter what you do, you say, I'm going to grab a Kleenex. Like everybody, I'm going to Google that. Yeah. Nobody's like, I'm going to web crawler that, because if you're not old, you don't remember web crawler.
I've started to say like, oh, I'm just going to ask chat. Like that's my new thing. Like ask chat has, for at least for me, has started to replace Google.
Or I'm going to use Lycos, which if you spell that wrong, it takes you to a really weird website.
Ooh, what does it take you to? How do you spell it wrong?
But do you remember that? Like no one used a web crawler was the thing.
No, I remember whitehouse.com is not where you want to go to find information on the White House.
Oh, and Meat Spin is not a pizza thing.
Both of those are banned at school.
Yeah. So,
but
yeah.
The thing about AI is that AI cannot think, and I'm not sure it's ever going to be able to. What's scarier though, so me and Tom were having this conversation. So it can't go through and have like independent thought, right? So it can't reason.
Yeah,
it can mimic reasoning, right? I talk shit to Grok all the time. Like I told it was being really liberal the other day. Or I told him it was being big pharma propaganda, and then it like gets down to the point, like okay, or I said you're using nuanced language to try and skirt the facts, and so you can talk with it, so it mimics reasoning, but it can't reason. But then the question is, do we reason or do we mimic reasoning?
We are emotional. Like we do all of our stuff is based on emotion, which is why that's going to be really hard for AI to do.
Okay, but when you're reasoning through something, are we copying what we've been taught, or do we have independently have our own way of individually doing it.
Oh yeah, no. For the most part,
I think your basis is what you're taught, and then you go from there.
yeah, there's a high percentage of what you do that's based on past experiences because it's more effective.
Right.
Like from a capacity model standpoint, like it's just more effective to be like scroll through that Rolodex of prior information and prior experiences and be like, this one's pretty close. Like the there's a I think he's an Irish comedian, talks about he has a sister who had some kind of disability, and they get in this car accident. And so they get in the car accident, and for her, like, this is a new experience and she doesn't know what to do with it. So he's like, so she just like rolls through her Rolodex of information, and the closest thing she has is a roller coaster. And so they're in an accident, the car's rolling over, and she just throws her arms up and is like, yeah, right, just having a good time, because that's her closest experience. And like, so for us as people, the vast majority of our interactions and our logic that we think we're reasoning out, we're just thumbing through that Rolodex.
Well, I think we live and learn.
Okay.
And it does, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the scary part is but we also have some independent thought.
Right. We can do new.
We can do new. Like AI could never have created a telephone without the telephone being there.
Yes.
It could take the telephone and make it better,
Yes.
but it couldn't create a telephone. It
do you
couldn't
think-
create a light bulb.
Do you think any of these chat ones you use, after a while it gets to know you, it caters to what you want to hear?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's going to take those selective things in Google that you might lean a certain way, or it might be like your favorite sports team, and they're going to like.
I think you have to prompt it, right?
Because I've used it with some stuff for the gym, and now it just like anytime I say anything about Omaha Barbell, it knows like what kind of gym we are.
Oh,
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I said our childhood vaccines tested for safety, and it said yes. And I said, okay, like let's be real. Are they double-blind placebo tested? Because that's the real testing. And it was like, well, yeah, this one was. I was like, how long was it for? Well, 2 months. Oh, that's not a double-blind placebo test, right?
Well, but next time you ask it, though, it might know that you want that answer. But if I'm somebody who's just like, I ask it a question, like the first time you did it, said yes, and then you're like, it's going to know that you're okay with that answer. So it's going to keep feeding you to that direction, right? Don't you think?
So I think what it is
it learns you.
I'm not sure how much it does, because I have to prompt it almost every single time to push.
Do you tell it to remember, like, hey, when I interact with you, this is what I want?
Well, so I
You got to be like a dominatrix with it.
So to me, what it is, it's Google, right? So mainstream information on the internet is priority one because it's the most mainstream. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have more articles from the New York Times, more articles from the Washington Post, more articles from Forbes, things
It is,
like
but
that.
I think it's also like kind of algorithmic. Like when you get on Instagram, if you look at the same shit all the time, that's what's going to be what comes up. I think if you ask ChatGPT similar things in a certain view, it's going to start to give you those answers.
I don't know if it does or not. I don't know. I don't
like
know.
at this point, it's figured out that you're a conservative libertarian.
Yeah.
It knows this about you now. So now it's going to give you the Fox News article versus the CNN article.
But
Not
see,
necessarily.
no, because yesterday I just did it, and I've been bitching at Grok for freaking ever about this. And yesterday did the same thing. I was like, you know what? I was like, I've had it with your bullshit.
But now, that's what I'm saying. But now you broke that. But if you're someone who doesn't break that, it's just going to keep telling them what they want to hear.
It'll do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Say, so it's think about it like when you Google search, you type whatever you get, like you get 50 links that are the first ones, right? Because they're either the most popular or they're paid for by ads and stuff. Like same thing happens with its algorithm. Like it's going to go through and it's going to find the first information that it does. Like even though we say like, oh, it searches the whole internet, it doesn't. Because I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like it just doesn't have.
It's
the
the learning
capacity.
models.
So it's like,
Too
all
much
right,
power.
you want this. Boop. All right, I'm going to chunk this whole half of the internet I don't need to look at. So I need to look at this.
That's what I'm saying. So it's going to be selective on what it's going to
Well,
get its
it'll be
information
selective,
from.
but to what Tanner had mentioned is a really important point when using AI. Like you asked it, are they tested? And it said yes, which is true.
Yep.
Like if you were to look at a logic tree that says true, and then you said, are they double-blind placebo tested? And it said yes, which is also true. Now, what you really wanted to know was like, are they effectively double-blind placebo tested to the extent that would be credible, right? There's more nuance to it where like if you were to ask me, I would know you better and I would know like, oh, Tanner said this, but he
That's what I'm
really
saying.
is looking for
So
that.
you think if next time if you ask it, it's not going to tell
I don't
you?
think so.
It can't get that kind of nuanced, but you can tell it like, so I have the one that I use on my phone operates very different than the one I use at work. The one I use at work, I have trained to be like not confrontational, but almost like argumentative. Like I'm bouncing ideas. Like I'm working on this training program for these 14 people, and I've got to build it out for the next 18 months, and I'm trying to do all this stuff. And so I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about this, 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 and this. Here's what we've done so far, and I feed a bunch of information to it. And before it was like, hey, Matt, that's great. Can I slob your knob? And I'm like, that's not helpful. Like, where are the holes in there? Like, what do you need to know to make this better? And it's like, oh, well, if I was doing it, I would do this. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about and stuff. So you can give it prompts like that, but you have to also tell it, hey, remember this. So like when I say, give me information on whatever, I ask you a question about this, I'll say, but like, give me the facts. Don't give me the screenshot I sent you guys the other day about like, what is what did I say? What is white culture versus what is black culture? And ChatGPT gave me some horseshit excuse, and I told the same thing like you told Grok. I'm like, that's bullshit. That's a non-answer. And she's like, yeah, you're right. It wasn't really this. And I was like, here's what Google said. And it was like, oh, that's an interesting spin. And I was like, well, why does it say this? And why did you say that? And I was like, well, here's where I was looking. And I was like, all right, well, I don't want that, because what you gave me isn't helpful. If you don't have an answer, just say, I'm not sure. And so I've done that enough times where now, if it's asking a question that it thinks is interpretive and it can't find anything to like piece together, it's like, I don't know. But again, like it won't do.
I'll try to remember this because I just start over. I start new every time.
Oh, see, I just have the same chats kind of going on mine because I have like an Omaha barbell one. I have one where I made it look like my dog was reading the paper. I got that one.
Yep. So if you're just using new chats, it knows what's happening in every single chat, at least with ChatGPT.
That's why I do new chats all the time. Because it'll like I'll ask it an unrelated question and it tries to tie them together.
Yeah. So it's like if you and I have this conversation, like. We have a conversation today. We have a conversation tomorrow. We have a conversation the next day. We talk every day. Like we remember each one of those conversations, even though they're all different. So like when you say something about, oh man, my knee really hurts today. I remember 4 conversations ago, you saying how like you jammed it in the middle of the night or something. And I'm like, oh, and I can reference that. So like ChatGPT will do that. So, but when you also start, if you use the same chat, like I've had it happen a bunch of times where like, if you use the same chat, it either starts to slow down a lot or it'll go, boop, you've reached the limit of this chat and you have to start a new one anyway.
Well, and then also I like to go back and find my chats. Mm-hmm. So I start over because they have them all sorted. Yep. And sometimes I get too, like I'm looking at, like, I know I talked to you about this, but I don't know in which. So that's why I start over that way because they're all tabbed out.
Yeah. And like I said, you can have fun on there too. Like I put a picture of my dog on there and I said, I want a picture of my dog reading the newspaper.
Yeah, you can have tons of fun on there.
And then so it has a picture of my dog reading the newspaper. It's great.
Like I was actually driving to the gym, I don't know, one time this week, and I had ChatGPT up and was talking to it about the stuff happening in LA. And I was asking like, hey, why are people waving flags that are not American flags at these protests? And it was like, oh, well, it said this. And I was like, I think that's horseshit. Like, why would they do that? And like,
why are you going to burn the flag of the country that you want to stay in?
Right. And it's like, it's doing some stuff and it's like, but we were going back and forth. And so like, I don't like, you can't change its mind. It doesn't have a mind to change. Yeah. But as we're talking through this, like it's learning my viewpoint a little bit. Now, again, it's not going to be able to have a unique thought. So it's never going to go like, oh, when Matt asked for this, he wants to see information that's more like this. I'm like, no, I want to see the information. Like, let me decide what the thing is. Yeah. Just give me the information and stuff. And so that's been
so part of it was like I feel a little bit better because I'm not sure computers are ever going to be able to think.
I mean, computers will never fully replace humans.
Right. I don't think so. But then my fear is that who are they mimicking? Right. So that's
I should say in our lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I do think that at some point in time, I think I've said this on here before, that with it, I don't know if it's 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, that there's going to be a time where a chunk of humanity combines with robots. Yeah. That I'm not saying we're cyborgs. I'm saying that like whether it's a brain chip or something that you're connected to your phone and you don't even have to hold your phone. Like it's
that's got to be the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, look what Neuralink can do right now.
So I think that's going to happen. And then at that same point in time, I think that a whole bunch of society, I shouldn't say a whole bunch, I think a chunk of society is actually going to go backwards in technology. And they're going to move back out to the country. They're going to have own, like, like cities, towns, whatever, that are basically that went backwards. Maybe went back in technology. Like they still have cell phones, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like they're
gonna
more
be
to
like,
talk.
Like the people today are like, I'm not getting a smartphone. I'm using a flip phone.
Yeah.
Like same thing, but
they're still going to use technology, but it's not going to be part of them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be growing their own food. They're going to be doing some things. Like I think there's going to be a Y in the road at some point in time, and your cities are going to be all owned by robot people.
it'll happen way sooner than we think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things to where, like, when you go back in the future, like we still don't have hoverboards, right? But it's also really funny because they couldn't they still use fax machines in the future. You know what I mean? So like,
Right.
And I hate that when I get some I have to do it and they're like, do you have a fax machine? And I'm like, no, it's 2025, dude. I don't have a fax machine.
Why do doctors' offices use fax machines?
I can take a picture of it on my phone and send it to you. Well, it's not the same. Actually, I used to work on fax machines. It is the same.
Scan.
Doing the same thing.
It is the same fucking thing.
You use Scanner Pro and email. It's the same
A
thing.
fax machine is just a copy machine
Right.
that fucking is a phone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not any different. That signature on there is the same.
Yep.
But speaking of that, I bought a different truck yesterday and I had Joe Biden the shit out of those documents because he had a fucking DocuSign on them.
Oh yeah.
I was like, God, I feel like Joe right
That
now.
was the new whip out back.
Yeah,
I was like, where's the blue guy?
I was like, I feel like Joe Biden right now. I kept hitting the fucking sign button.
That's a cool freaking truck. Those GMC Chevy trucks, the fronts of them, they're just the most badass. Like they did a great job. Like
Yes.
when you're looking head on at a Chevy or GMC, it just looks badass.
It's a good looking truck. Black is always a cool color. Matt's got a black truck, but keeping them clean is like the end of time.
Until you drive it, and then it's like, fuck.
I know. I have a guy that comes and washes my truck here once a month, and he was like, "You got a black truck?"
Well, it's also like when you buy a white shirt or white shoes. Like white shoes look great for like 7 minutes.
Yes.
That white shirt I got from you the other day, I've worn it twice. And then Aaron was like, what did you do? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked down, and there's like a giant rust smear or something on the side.
Probably from like one of the bars in here, the humidity.
Yeah, something. I don't know what I got it on, but I wore it twice, and now I
went-
washed it, and it's still.
I mean-
I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean they look like
Right
white
out of
shirts.
the package, great.
White
Sharp.
shoes look great. They lasted my life like 10 minutes and then I'm done.
We went to the Funny Bone last Friday and we saw Derek Stroop. As Derek yells his Instagram, super funny guys from the South, bigger guy. And he's talking about a stain on a fat guy shirt. He was like, do you know how much you get judged? It's like they know your story. Like, oh, look at the stain on the fat guy's shirt. Like, and he goes, they see a skinny person with a stain and like, oh my God, did a fat guy spill on you? But yeah, talking about going back in technology, we talked about that they're talking about they found Noah's Ark again.
Yeah.
We'll see what this comes of.
They
did
find
some
Noah's Ark
under-
a lot.
Yeah.
They did this under, which it is the aerial view of that area. Is it the same area each time, or have they found it different places?
It's been found at different places.
So this is like
This one has been found. This one I think was found years ago, but it's the new radar thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's 7 or 14 miles south of Mount. Starts with an A. I can't pronounce
Yeah,
it right.
Area.
Yeah, and that's the one that, and biblically they talk about that was its resting place, and they, based on the structure of it, it matches up to the biblical size of the boat. It's like 500 feet long, 80 feet wide.
What is
I
that in
think.
cubits?
I know it's in like weird measurements, yeah, and then like 50 feet tall, I think it was. So they did this underground radar. It looks like there's some kind of hallway through this area, like possibly a roof to it. So, but like we were talking before the show, like I don't know why they don't dig these things. Same thing with the pyramids. Why have they not dug underneath of it? To
So
find these things out, because it's very fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of strange, fascinating structures out there that we've talked about on the pyramids episode, if you want to go back and listen to that one. But the Noah's Ark thing is, and it's a big deal for like Christians, Jews, I think even is it Islam?
yeah.
There's like the
They all believe in the Old
there's a big, I mean, it's a big deal. So it's just surprising that no one is really like getting after this to dig it.
So the thing is that almost all of these things that are found in like Middle Eastern countries, whether it's Egypt or Turkey or whatever. And these countries have very different governments than we have. Plus they like to control shit. So for example, Göbekli Tepe was found in Turkey, and it is 11,600 years old. If you don't know what it is, it basically threw a wrench in everybody's historical like data about hunter-gatherers versus building like monolithic structures. So this is a giant monolithic structure. Well, they've uncovered a very small percentage, 2%, 3%, something like that. And then they stop, right? Turkey stops because, and now they get a ton of tourism there. So like the problem is that if they don't, I don't know if they want to know. I think the unknown is more exciting for people than the known, right? So they want to keep bringing tourism there. So they don't really care about what it is. They just want to make money off of it. And they did like some weird shit where they planted like olive trees on it, because olive trees can't be cut down in Turkey. But then the government cut them down after Bright Insight is his name. Jimmy Corsetti like called him out on it. But like these olive trees were, the roots were like chewing into Göbekli Tepe. But they wanted to like, they wanted to like protect not digging the area. And then there's another one right by it. Also, Turkey has these underground cities. Like calling it a cave is just an insult.
It's a huge cave system. Like it's
huge,
elaborate.
that goes down to underground rivers for water sources, that has places where animals were kept, that has air intakes and all kinds of shit. And they connect all over this massive region, but they don't do it. Just same thing with the pyramids, right? Like if you talk to the guy, Zawi, whatever, he was on Rogan, huh?
The head archaeologist from Egypt.
Yeah. He was on Rogan, and he's just a fucking dick. Like he's
a super pompous ass.
Yeah. And they just want to control the message.
That would even draw even more people.
But they don't want to be wrong, because in Egypt, it was the Egyptians from 4,000 years ago under like they don't want to be wrong, so they control all of the information. So it ends up being really stupid.
But there's got to be some level of like who doesn't want to be the archaeologist that discovers that, hey, I found something new. Like we're discovering more and more stuff, but like when you can find something new as an archaeologist.
So the archaeologists want to do it,
right?
Right, but some of them do.
Well,
but also a lot of archaeologists wrote books.
Right, but even then, like just the idea of like, so you wrote a book, and there's, hey, I wrote a book based on what we knew at the time, and now I found new stuff.
How it is easier to trick somebody than to convince them they've been tricked. Okay, so I can trick you into believing something. That's why everyone tries to get their story out first. Because if you believe me, and then Matt comes in and tries to tell you that I like hoodwinked you, you're like, well, I'm not stupid. He couldn't have done that. And that's kind of the way they feel.
Well, it's kind of like bad press is harder to overturn than good press.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to have that thing. You know what I mean?
It's just really messed up.
Well, I do think that the guys who did this latest scan are trying to they want to do core samplings.
What do they use to find it?
It's
not LiDAR. They called it something else.
It's that satellite.
That stuff doesn't go down very far.
Oh, it does, right? with the new technology. It's the same stuff that they used to find the cylinders under the pyramids.
Then
it's a group out of Italy, right? Same group?
I'm not sure. But then they were saying even the grass in that area is like, it grows differently because the pHs, which is from like organic things breaking down underneath, which they think could be the wood that was used to build the ark. But now, like I said, the ark would be different than the pyramids because you'd want to dig that because then no one's proven right or wrong. You know what I mean? It is a very strange looking structure from the sky, though. It does look like a boat. I mean, the aerial view it looks like a boat. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Very, very fascinating to see.
And just to go back to like flood stories, there's like 128 flood stories from around the world that all have like the same time frame. And it was all at the end of the Younger Dryas period. I've talked about that before, about 11,600, 11,800 years ago. Like that's when a lot of this chaos happened, right? That's when the last of the chaos, the end of the ice age, the melting of the glaciers, all the ocean levels raising 400 feet like overnight.
So you just think like Noah just
synthetic aperture radar?
Do you think
it's like a combination of things?
Do you think Noah just parked that thing there after the flood and was like, well, later?
Satellite-based synthetic aperture radar. It's what they use to find the purported cylinder structures under the pyramids.
When we talked about also other ships, I think it's on History Channel, but I could be wrong. But there's a new Titanic documentary, and they have high def cameras and crazy shit down there, and it's like pretty fucking cool, the pictures they get of the Titanic now. And they've laid out the whole ship. They obviously get into the stupid part of they think they're trying to predict how it went down or whatever. But the video and the pictures they have from down there is crazy. Like they can see people's belongings, like zoomed in, like all kinds of shit. It's crazy cool how they did it.
Yeah.
I just don't get into the whole like, I bet this is what happened. You can see here. You can't see shit. This stuff's been underwater for fucking like 50 years or however long it's
100 years.
been. Is it 100 years?
Just about.
Yeah.
When was the Titanic? It was in the 40s, wasn't it?
Oh, probably, I suppose.
No, it was like 1911.
Was it that? Yeah, it's over 100 years. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you're like trying to tell me this could have been. And they said, I mean, eventually it's just going to cave into itself over time. It'll go away completely.
Well, that's why when they try and talk about like shipwrecks, like when did humans start navigating the oceans? Well, we've only have shipwrecks going back. Well, they were made of wood, dude. Like, how long is wood going to last in freaking the bottom of the ocean?
If more than 4 hours, call your doctor.
Nice. And every guy was like, I can beat that. I can beat 4 hours.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Hold my pill bottle.
So
That was a good one, Matt. Was that you or was that?
That was actually me.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Although I'm going to tell GPT so it knows how funny I am.
Okay.
oh my god. You guys got anything else? It's kind of a grab bag of things, but informational.
Yeah.
You ever listen to the Drinking Bros podcast?
Every once in a while.
I listened because I did one thing Andy Frisell the other day, and obviously you guys know I like Andy, but then I was like scrolling through some other ones. And I listened to part of it. They were going through from George Washington ranking the gayest presidents. And I was like, I got to listen to it because they had like a numbering system. And I was like, but I think I made it to like Thomas Jefferson and I had to like do something. They were ranking all the gayest presidents.
That's hilarious.
So,
I mean, it is
So did they
Pride
get
Month.
to number one or they start at the bottom and work their way up?
they were started at George Washington
Oh, okay.
and they were going up. So I'll have to go back because I couldn't quite figure out their numbering system. So
I mean, imagine G-Dub's got to be pretty low on the gay scale.
yeah, but and I don't know if in England at that time. I mean, they kind of dressed weird though too,
I mean, they did wear like the wigs for formal stuff.
in the stockings and the knickers.
Oh,
Well,
that's fine.
didn't the wigs come because of syphilis?
It was something. Yeah, it was something. It was
Like
either to keep
syphilis,
them
like
clean or
ma-
something.
Well,
yeah.
I thought a lot of them lost their hair because of
Yeah.
like a STD.
I think that's what it was. It was like the
So they had the
rich
wigs
class. Yeah, so they wore the powder.
And then
wigs.
George Washington had them slave teeth too.
Yeah.
Shane Gillis. This is the
Shane
last thing you
Gillis.
see when you're leaving the fucking museum.
Yeah. Ugh. God.
It'd be weird.
Yeah. But all right, guys, that's all we got today.
All right.
Like, subscribe, share, follow. Hopefully you like what we're doing. We'll see you later.